Hello, friend.
Your emotional state is valuable and important, and it belongs to you and nobody else. Don't let anyone else have it because they don't have any right to it, and you are much better off controlling it yourself. I learned personally for myself that I have to be very, very careful guarding my emotional state. And when I do stay in control of my emotions and I don't let other people sway me, then I feel so much better, I accomplish so much more, and I make much, much better decisions. Welcome to PhilSoul. My name is Ollie. So I quit my job a while ago. By the time this video is up, it'll be just over 2 months. And I've already gotten over all the really toxic stuff, the harassment that happened there, the reasons why I quit. I've gotten a much better job, and I've learned a lot from this whole experience. And so I'm making multiple videos talking about some of the stuff I've learned from this whole situation, this really messy situation. And some of the lessons I'm talking about overlap a bit between videos, but I really wanted to tackle it from a few different angles because it really was so profound and the stuff I learned was so helpful in helping me move through the very frustrating and disappointing feelings that I felt experiencing these things. Last week's video was called Hold On to Your Emotions, and I talk more about the stuff in that video if you want to hear more about it. Specifically, it was about how important it is, how much it serves me to hold on to my emotions to keep my peace when I'm faced with this sort of thing, and how it really doesn't help me to get upset. But with this video this week, I want to talk more about a different angle that I sort of was thinking about, and it really stuck out to me. I thought it was very profound and valuable. You see, my emotional state, it's mine. I own it, and nobody else has any right to it. My job was very toxic. Management was very, very poor. And the business was literally non-functional and changes weren't being made. I started being vocal about it, and they didn't like that, so they harassed me. So I quit on the spot. I didn't even clock in, just walked out the building. And if you want to hear more about what exactly was going on, the extent of it, I do talk about it in last week's video. But anyway, I realized that my emotional state, okay, my feelings, my happiness, my mental state, my contentment, my peace, really important things, right? Things I want to hold on to. They are, in fact, mine and nobody else's. I have control and responsibility unless I choose to hand it over to someone else. And that's a choice that I ultimately have to make. But I think that I, as well as many people, we end up handing people our emotional states without really realizing it. It's incredibly common in our culture to give up control of our own emotional states to somebody else. Like if somebody does something we don't like and we get upset about it, we're saying, here, take my emotional state. And that state of being upset, whether it's anger, sadness, fear, disappointment, irritation, whatever it is, it doesn't really serve us to stay in that state, does it? You might have to work through it. It's okay to feel them, but to stay in it, to really let that affect our real contentment, our time, our choices, that doesn't help. So I realized that my emotional state is actually very, very valuable. You see, I make my best decisions when I'm happy, when I'm at peace, when I'm optimistic, right? I feel better when I'm focused on gratitude and good things. I make better decisions. I enjoy my life more. I'm more motivated to do good things. I want to be proactive and accomplish things. I mean, that's really important, right? I want to spend my time wisely. That's my life right there. And then when I'm upset, not so much. You see, my emotional state, it can make or break you, right? It can lift you up. It can motivate you. It can help you see good, positive possibilities, which is hugely important. Or it can ruin your day. It can keep you down. It can steal your time. It's so valuable, so important to life. So why on earth would I constantly hand it over to somebody who didn't deserve it and has already shown that they want to ruin it? Isn't that just what we do? One of our most important and precious and valuable faculties. Somebody does something we don't like, somebody does something inappropriate, and we say, here, take my emotional state. I grant you access to my feelings, my emotions, my happiness, my contentment, my accomplishments, my productivity, my joy, my peace. You can have it, you can have control of it, even though you didn't deserve it, and I already know that you're going to ruin it. Pretty striking, right? I think, you know, it sounds so ridiculous when you put it that way, but it's something we do so often. And, you know, I don't want to give my emotional state to those types of people. It's precious. I have better things to do with it. Emotional state is productivity, and productivity is accomplishment, right? You know, me personally, I want to run a really good YouTube channel, which I'm trying to do right now. I want to write a book. And I have to make those things happen. And if I'm not in a good mental state in order to make those things happen, then they don't really get worked on, so they don't get done. So if I'm giving you my emotional state, I'm giving you my productivity. If I'm giving you my emotional state, I'm giving you my YouTube channel. I'm giving you my book. I do not want to do that, right? So if you want to earn my emotional state in any way, then treat me with respect and kindness. Acknowledge and reciprocate the good things I do, right? Form a real relationship with me. You know, then I'll be willing to share your concerns, your struggles, your perspective, right? I'll be willing to sort of sacrifice some of my emotion for you. Of course, you know, you always want to feel empathy towards other people and everything, but if you're just acting immaturely and making poor decisions and mistreating me, why do you deserve any of my emotional state, right? You know, I would love to give it to you, but I'm thinking this isn't a very good deal, right? So once you earn it, you know, then we can move forward. So why would I give that out freely to somebody who already disrespected my emotional state? Why would I give something so valuable to somebody who already proved that they don't appreciate its worth? Right? So, you know, the people at my work, they were making very poor decisions, very irresponsible, immature decisions. And, you know, when they act that way, I don't need to get upset because they didn't earn access to my emotional state. I can just say, that's fine. You do your thing on your, you know, your low standards. I have higher standards of how I want to spend my time, how I want to conduct myself, what I want to do. So I'm just going to go do that. I can walk away and say bye. And I did. I realized that my time is absolutely better spent elsewhere, so I quit on the spot. But here's the thing, that if I'm going to say that my time is better spent elsewhere, and I'm going to quit my job because of it, I'm going to make those life decisions because of that, I need to put my money where my mouth is, right? You know, I need to make sure that my time is more valuable than that. It was a period of 2 weeks, exactly, down to the minute, when I got my job interview that I would get hired at later that day. Within those 2 weeks, I needed to make sure that that time really was more valuable than the job that I quit because I thought it wasn't valuable, right? I needed to live by that same principle. I needed to uphold that. I owed it to my family and to myself to make my time more valuable. I know I didn't sit around playing games all day. I didn't allow myself to waste my time because I was wallowing in misery, right? I put in a lot of applications. I helped around the house a lot. I worked on Philosol a lot. And I can confidently say that those 2 weeks really were better spent than 2 weeks at that job where all that nasty, toxic stuff happened, even when I was getting paid for it. I upheld that same principle that I chose to live by, the same principle that made me want to quit my job. I upheld that in my actions by making sure my time was more valuable. And because of that, when management decided to mistreat me until I quit, it's fine. It really is fine because I know I can just go do something better, right? You see, this is very key. By virtue of them acting that way and me trying to speak up and improve the situation when they didn't really want that happening, by virtue of that, I know that my time is more valuable, right? I had standards that were important to me, and they had much lower standards, that those standards weren't important to them, and it was causing problems. And, you know, this isn't just about knocking them. Like, I know it probably kind of sounds like I am just trying to, you know, passive-aggressively knock my old bosses or whatever. But if you saw last week's video, you probably know how bad it was. Actually, it was only a small part of it, but you should know how bad it was. Anyway, you know, I'm not trying to paint myself as a white knight, but the fact of the matter is, I was in a situation where I felt the need to do the right thing and other people around me didn't. And I have to act on that, you know? And that outlook has honestly served me so much. So I know that I do not need to give them access to my emotional state or any more of my time. Even though it feels so natural in our culture to get upset like that, I know it's never served me. And, you know, it's one thing to purposefully come across as riled up or stern in order to convey a point, but I'm really talking about how you honestly feel inside about actually compromising your emotional state. You know, I know that if I actually want to get things done and change a situation, it serves me to keep a fresh and mindful outlook without the fog of intense emotions that would otherwise so easily sway me to make immature decisions, emotional based decisions, like what they were doing and causing problems because of it, right? I mean, it would serve us all so much if we just were really more mindful about keeping control of our emotional state rather than handing it out at the drop of a hat. So, quick disclaimer, many people aren't used to this. This happened to me where I would stay relatively calm about some of the things that were happening, and they would expect me to get livid, to get really riled up and angry about these things that were going on, the things that they were doing to me. Because, you know, when people try to get that rise out of you, they don't like it when you don't comply, you don't give them what they want, because that's kind of all they're going for now. So, but, you know, I've had it where people, you know, they kind of read into it, me staying calm and not cussing back at them, not screaming back at them, right? You know, and they kind of read into it and think that maybe I don't actually care, or that I'm just being sort of standoffish and like distant, and maybe I'm trying to belittle them or something by acting like I'm not invested. It's like, no, I'm very invested, hence I'm trying to fix the issue. It's just I'm not fragile enough to want to scream, and part of me wanted to scream, sure, but I'm not going to. You know, it's not like I was just trying to serve myself or something, and they kind of thought that and acted differently because of it, and they didn't really know how to act and just made him angrier, and it was a messy situation. It was really it was very immature, the stuff that was happening all around. You know, it was not just one or two people, it was most of the people that were there, unfortunately. But anyway, you know, but the thing is, ultimately, if you're trying to work with people and get things done, and situations rise up that need to be taken care of, if other people involved aren't capable of just tackling the issue at hand without letting emotion cloud their judgment, or without playing these weird mind games, then they're not good people to work with. And unless they want to mature, it does not serve me to stay there. Getting upset so easily and staying upset doesn't really accomplish anything. It certainly doesn't change their minds, right? I mean, so often we think we might be able to change their minds by getting upset, but you gotta remember that these are people that not only are fine with you being upset, but they were trying to make you upset in the first place. So no, that doesn't really work. Ultimately, you gotta keep in mind that you can't really control other people's choices. You can only really control your own. So that's where your power is your own decisions and what's inside of you, right? You have to keep your ability to make the decisions that you know will lead to success. Don't give up your emotional state, because when you give that up, you're giving up your decision making. And that's where your power is. Your emotional state is your power. That's why it's so important to hold on to your emotional state, right? So work on yourself. You know, don't focus so much on trying to change other people and what's outside of you, because that's way less valuable and it's way harder. It might seem easier, but it's not, because you ultimately can't really do that without changing what's inside of you. It's just that changing what's inside of you tends to be a lot scarier. You do not need to be a victim that is just at the whim of whatever external factors come your way. That goes for being upset or happy. You don't have to have an external reason to be happy. Take control of your own joy. Be happy if you want to be happy, right? Be happy because you know that you have you. You have your decisions, and that is the ultimate deciding factor in your destiny, your fate, what happens to you, the stuff that you make happen to you, right? And that's not to say that, you know, everybody who is a victim is just stuck in a victim mentality or something like that. No, I mean, bad things happen. They happen all the time, unfortunately. Really bad things that shouldn't have happened, that are not justified, that were unfair, that we didn't see coming. They've happened to me. And I've had to go through these very painful emotions. I had to process them. Pain and fear and anger and resentment. But I had to realize that it didn't serve me to stay in them, right? To process these emotions means that it is a process. You go through it. You expect to be different on the other side of it. You go through it with the intention of healing and growing. That is how to cope. That is healthy, right? Don't allow yourself to be beat down. Don't allow yourself to stay in that stuff because it feels subconsciously comfortable on some level, or because it provides an excuse for your actions, or because it's what you should do according to some people's opinions, something like that. You and I and everybody, we all have the ability to work through these emotions and come out on top, to be stronger, to become better, to use these painful experiences to our advantage, to make a brighter future. We all have this ability. It's like the human superpower. And yes, it takes practice. And yes, you will still feel upset at times. And no, I'm not perfect at it, but we all have the ability to go through it and come out on top. And I know that's really helped me. And I really hope that this video has helped you too. Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to hear your advice from your experiences in the comments. We're all growing together and it's very appreciated. You can click subscribe and then the bell icon to be notified every time I post a video. I post every Friday. Feel free to share Philisol with anyone you think will find it helpful. I want to help as many people as I can. Check out the channel page for lots more videos and other channels that I really enjoy. Until next time, much love.